Let's talk some love. Arnold and Lila. This episode begins with Helga deciding that she finally wants to confess her true feelings to Arnold. So she draws a heart on the wall saying Arnold loves Helga, but then she sees some girls walking about to come by, so she quickly erases her name and writes Lila's instead. And then the girls, which consist of Lila, Rhonda, and I forget who else, but they walk by and spot the heart and convince Lila that Arnold has a crush on her, but he was too shy to admit it personally, so he just did the wall thing as kind of a non-indirect way of confessing feelings. Convinced that Arnold has a crush on her, Lila begins spending every ounce of her spare time with Arnold. And it doesn't take long for that to get on Arnold's nerves. And it's to a point where he doesn't want to be with her anymore and he wants to break it off. But Grandpa feels like, don't do that, Arnold. You're just going to break her heart. But Arnold goes through it anyway, and it breaks her heart. And not only that, but everyone at school resents him for breaking Lila's heart, even though Arnold never drew the message on the wall in the first place. And then a week goes by, and then Arnold starts reminiscing and thinking back on their experiences together, such as photo booth. Like they were in a photo booth and they took pictures together, and he's staring at that and he's like, oh my gosh, I actually have feelings for her. So he approaches Lila and tells her, hey, I have feelings for you now. But by that point, Lila's gotten over him because she realized that the only reason she liked Arnold is because she thought he liked her. And now that she knows the truth, there's no point to it. That conversation ends with Lila being like, we can still be friends, right? Yeah, that's the episode. And it was a pretty solid one at that. I mean, it captures something we all go through at some point, or most of us go through, which is our first love. And the awkwardness and the heartbreak involved. Some people, their first love is their only one and only. But for others, it's the first of many awkwardness and heartbreaks. And I thought this episode did a really good job at kind of creating a realistic and compelling romance. For one, there's no real villain here. I mean, yeah, Helga is kind of at fault for spreading the rumor and not speaking up, but it's hard to blame her. I mean, I don't think this was her intent. Like, when she erased the message, she wasn't doing it out of spite or out of shipping. She was just, she was nervous. She didn't want people to know that she had a crush on Arnold. I think we can all relate to not wanting people to know our crushes. So it's, hard to blame her for getting cold feet. Yeah, I mean, you can hate her for not coming out and saying, hey guys, don't hate on Arnold, I'm the one who wrote that note. But at the same time, she couldn't do that without either looking like a jerk for spreading this lie or admitting her feelings for Arnold. And neither of them are things she's willing to do. And again, I can relate. I remember those days in middle school and high school. It's like, you don't want your crush to know you like them. It's like every elementary schooler's nightmare. And yeah, I mean, realistically, she couldn't have put Lila's name on there. Realistically, she could have solved a lot of problems by just putting anything other than Lila's name on there. But, even it makes sense how she wrote the heart. She sleeps, eats, breathes Arnold, so naturally she'd write Arnold's name on the top of the heart. Then put hers second. And it makes sense that, the first person to pop into her head would be Lila. In that, split second of, oh my gosh, I need to put a name down. First name, Lila. And I don't really blame Lila for what happened in this episode either. Again, she wasn't doing anything wrong. She just thought she saw some signs and was just acting accordingly. And again, she's not wrong for misreading the signs. She just, again, we're young. And when you're young, you don't always see things the way they should be. So yeah, she thought Arnold had a crush on her and acted accordingly. And yeah, I mean, I'm no psychologist, but I think it's safe to assume that once you know that someone, or at least if you think someone has a crush on you, it kind of changes, how you perceive them and how you act around them. Regardless of whether or not you like them back, it does sort of, change the dynamic between the two of you. Also, I mean, Lila wasn't, when she saw that heart, she wasn't immediately like, oh my gosh, he loves me, that's so romantic. She's like, Arnold likes me? Like, she never really considered them any more than friends, so that was kind of a shocker for her. And the only reason that she kind of just decided that Arnold did like her and decided to act on it was because of her friends. Her friends were the ones that convinced her that this heart's a sign that Arnold likes you and that you should totally act on it. So it's not so much that Lila was a bad person, it's that she trusted she trusted the judgment of her friends, which was not the best judgment. And, as for being very clingy to Arnold again, like, she was on cloud nine. Like, she was in that honeymoon, lovey-dovey phase. And, she'd never been in a relationship before. And, when you're young and in love, it's like, concepts of things like space and mutual feelings aren't quite there yet. So again, it's a young elementary school love, so it's not like, you can't blame Lila for not understanding how she should treat Arnold. Arnold was interesting in this episode, I have to say. Like, again, we've constantly seen Arnold as this, like, morally righteous person whose good heart and moral compass can do him no wrong. And here's, like, an episode where it kind of works against him, because he's too nice of a guy to tell Lila that he doesn't like her, because that would break her heart and make him come off as a jerk. And that's why he waits so long to tell her, because, he doesn't want to be that mean guy. He wants to be the guy that can please everyone. But at that same time, if you don't speak up for yourself and say what you want, then, yeah, the other person's happy, but what about you? It's kind of this darned if you do, darned if you don't, where if you break it off, yeah, you're happy, but the other person's kind of upset. But at the same time, if you stay, yeah, the other person's happy, but what if you're happy? And, ideally a relationship should be a mutual feeling. It shouldn't just be one person constantly pleasing the other. It should be like this, not 50-50, but pretty darn close. Like, it shouldn't be one-sided. And in Arnold's case, it was one-sided. And it's a bummer, because I feel like Arnold and Lila might, under different circumstances, they could work as a couple. They're both sweet and nice people, and they could complement each other nicely. It's just, rather than naturally develop feelings for each other, they were both kind of forced together under false circumstances. Like, it wasn't like, again, they naturally mutually developed feelings. It's like Lila developed feelings for Arnold, but only under the assumption that he liked her back. It makes you wonder just how many of the times that happens in, like, middle school or elementary school, where it's more one than the other. And it does spark the question of how Arnold and Helga would work as a couple. I've touched on this a bit, so I'm not going to touch on it too much, but, we've seen instances like the Biodome where it's shown that Helga's kind of just grouchy, and her bad behavior might make them a horrible couple if they ever live together, but at the same time, like, there is that question of how much of this negative behavior stems from her just not wanting Arnold to find out he likes her, and how much of that is innate with her parents, because we've seen Helga kind of act grouchy even when she's not around Arnold. Like in the road trip episode, we saw her act grouchy towards her mother, and Arnold was nowhere to be in sight. And as much as Helga acts grouchy to hide her feelings for Arnold, it also stems from how she was raised. And speaking of Helga, she was pretty enjoyable in this episode, not just for, being a relatable character who does not exactly the best things, but things that stem from motivations that we can identify and relate to, but from getting not one, but two hilarious monologues. The first one felt much longer than the usual Helga monologue, and the second culminated in probably one of my favorite Helga punches Stinky moments. Like, she just tackles him on the bus. I am curious what would happen if Helga had written a girl's name down that wasn't Lila. Like Phoebe. That could lead to some interesting dynamic where Arnold's dating Helga's best friend, and on one end, it's like, yay, you're friends with someone they like, but on the other end, that jealousy of, oh, but I wanted to be with him. And it's like, where does your loyalty lie? Does it lie to your heart or your best friend? Yeah, my only gripe with that what if Phoebe and Arnold dated outside of me just shipping Phoebe and Gerald is that I've always kind of got the implication that Phoebe kind of, if she doesn't know, she kind of suspects that Helga has feelings for Arnold. I mean, she's Helga's best friend. Like, if Helga hasn't told her, she's probably deduced just from the way Helga acts towards him and the things she asked Phoebe to do. And yeah, that's a lot to say. So, recommendations, stuff that's really similar to this episode, and if you like this, definitely check it out. But I like reference talking about other shows that are similar to this. But the one that pops up to mind is one I brought up a few times on these vlogs, and that is Star versus the Forces of Evil. One of the core elements of the show is the relationship between Star Butterfly and Marco Diaz, two characters that start out as friends, but one develops a crush on the other, and then the other finds out, and awkwardness. And the show kind of explores that. It explores, like, when her best friend starts dating someone else, when Marco starts dating Jackie, and it's, like, complicated because, like, Marco's her best friend, but, Star also has this crush on her, and then Marco finds out, and then they have to deal with that, and that takes up the bulk of season 3. And yeah, it's just a really well-written, relatable look at how relationships work. And when you look at Hey Arnold, it's like, we're kind of jogging in place with the Helga and Arnold relationship, something that I doubt is going to develop at all until the Jungle movie. It's interesting to look at a serialized show like not Hey Arnold, Star versus the Force of Evil, where it does kind of move past that, and the relationship does grow and evolve. The other thing is there's this Netflix movie called, I forget the name of it, I'll look it up in the comments, but basically it's about this high school student who has all these crushes, and she jots, whenever she thinks about one, she'll just jot her thoughts down in a little notebook or letter and just store it in a box, and somehow all these notes get out and they get mailed to their respective crushes, and now the crushes know that she likes them, and awkwardness ensues. I'll have to check it out. That's all I have to say about this episode. Let me know what you think. Do you find this relatable at all? Do you find it sweet? Or do you just hate this episode and think it's the worst thing ever? Whatever you think, comment and let me know, and I'll see you next time where it's off to the races.